pregame freakout. Welcome back to Creep It Weird with Liss and
Natty.
I always want to say Natasha.
Yeah, Natasha.
It took me a minute to get on today because I just took a quick shower because I felt gross. But then after that, I turned on the TV and there's this show Hoarders. I don't know if you've ever seen
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Not Hoarders. Oh my gosh. I can't watch Hoarders. That would stress me out so bad. It was Squatters.
No, I've not seen that one.
It's this people like squat in houses. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So there's this guy that like gets somebody to pretend they're going to rent a room or whatever, and then they just like kind of move in. But the lady in there in this episode that I just watched, she was all so annoyed that these people were in her quote unquote house and they were setting up cameras.
What?
They were just like moving more people in, a whole bunch of fake moving boxes, driving her crazy. It was so funny. That's like going to be my new show.
I'd be pissed.
Well, it's not her house.
Oh, well, in that case.
They're trying to help the owner get this woman out who just like stayed in there and she won't leave. And she's renting out the rooms to different people.
Well, that doesn't seem like that should be legal. They should be able to just call the police.
It's squatters' rights. They have different laws in different states. And this is like the go around to get this lady out of their freaking house.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. But if somebody was squatting in my house, 100%, it'd be like, call the police or I'm going to come shoot your ass.
I'd be climbing in the window and I'd have a line of people just like Red Rovering them out the door.
It's your house. You do not have to go through the window. You go in the front door, guns blazing.
But I'm saying if it was locked and if like I left for an extended period of time where legally they could be here, I'd break in and I would make a barrier and push this person out. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
physically touch them, so legally I'm not anything, but I would annoy them out the door.
I would shoot them and say it was self-defense.
I wouldn't say that on the podcast.
Well, that's why we don't have to worry about anybody squatting in my house.
But yeah, how have you been?
I was really sick there for a while. Couldn't keep anything down. They thought it was appendicitis, so I spent Mother's Day in the ER
Oh no.
getting tests ran. But my appendix is fine.
Oh good. Did they figure out what it was?
So I had a gnarly cyst on my ovary and a stomach bug at the same time. But I lost like 8 pounds.
I feel like every time we talk to you, you have some sickness and you're like, I'm down another
I do,
10, I'm
and that's
down
why I
another
am
8.
trying. Hey, I am looking to get out of the cesspool.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, you don't
I
seem
am
very happy there, so I hope you do find something else.
If it wasn't for the fact that, so I switched to days and that was horrible. I'm definitely a nighttime person, but it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, cool. Now you're doing like 5 times the amount of work for the same pay. Actually, less pay because the differential, I don't get it on Mondays. And that's kind of discouraging. And then it's like, oh, yeah, on top of that, everyone who's sick is going to get you sick. So all of your PTO is going to get burnt up because you're going to be vomiting and you're not even going to be able to enjoy your PTO.
But it's like a free GLP-1.
I guess I'd rather not be vomiting nonstop. Like I was so
No, I'm
weak.
kidding.
My boyfriend had to help me take a shower. It was horrible and slightly embarrassing.
Well, at least you know he'd do it.
Yeah, that is
Imagine
true.
if he was like, no, I gotta go.
Yeah, see you later, you stinky pants.
Backed away slowly.
No, he was really good. He took good care of me when I was sick.
Oh, that's good. So this is the Union Screaming House.
That sounds kind of interesting.
You've never heard of it?
No.
Back in 2001, Stephen LaChance, a father of 3, he was just having a rough time in life. He just lost his sister. He had just separated from his wife, also his kid's mother, and she just like bounced.
Oh, geez.
Now he's a single dad raising 3 kids. They're about 11, 12, 13, 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter's the oldest.
No, thank you. And then he went to the loony bin.
I'm not going to use their names because in the book they're called 3 names. In like a show called The Haunting, there was an episode about this. It was season 3, episode 1. But they had different names, and then in articles they're different names. So that's why I'm just calling them sons and daughters.
Okay,
to not
yeah,
try
that
to figure out
works.
which one's real.
Good enough.
So they were living together in a small apartment, and he wanted something bigger. So he started browsing the newspaper ads, as people had to do back then.
Yeah, back in the day. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
The wanted ads looking for a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted something bigger so his daughter could have her own room, the boys could have a room, and he could have his own room. but he has a budget because he's a single dad. So he contacted a bunch of different places. He had a certain price range, so and his current lease was going to expire, so he had to just kind of hope for the best. And he got contacted back about this property for rent, which sounded too good to be true. It was an older house, two-story house for rent at 809 North Christina Ave in Union, Missouri. Missouri.
Okay.
Sounds so weird to
Missouri.
say.
Missouri.
Missouri.
We used to call it misery.
Misery. Stephen, along with his daughter, went to go look at the house. It was basically like an open house, but he didn't want to bring all of his kids to like overwhelm the landlord, which I get.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of boys and the girls, no offense.
Yeah, let's take the girl with us.
Hey, I had 2 toddler boys. I know. So Stephen started the tour of the house with his daughter. It was in a great neighborhood. It had enough bedrooms that he wanted, so his daughter could have her own, his boys could share, and he could have his own. It had 2 bathrooms. And this would be a huge jump from like this crammed apartment that they were living in.
Oh, yeah.
It had a big kitchen, a full basement with a butcher's shower and a fruit cellar and a backyard. And it had all this detailed original crown molding. Like you could tell the house was built with care. It had little cherubs in the living room.
Aw. I was number 2 of 4, and there's only 11 months between me and my older sister. There's only 18 months between me and my brother. And then I had a little sister who was like 6 years later. We're boom, 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 boom. So I get it. And we were 2 girls and a boy until my little sister came along.
I have a sister and then a brother and then me and then a younger brother who was that gap later.
Yep.
But we were all like, 11 to 13 months apart.
Yep.
It was just boom, boom.
That is us.
Yeah. And it gets hectic with that many kids young at the same
100%.
time. The landlord, which in some places it said it was a woman, but in the book that Stephen LaChance, surprise, he later writes a book about his experience, and that's kind of what I got a lot of this from. The landlord was said to be Mr. Winters, so a man, and he was described as this eccentric man that always had a wig that was like askew. It was never quite on right. Like he always just came in.
Like that really chate toupee.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those are great. When it's like clearly a rug and it doesn't look anything like the rest of their hair.
Just a complete different color is what I'm picturing. Just off to the side.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And he like goes to wipe his brow and the whole thing moves with it. Yeah.
Mr. Winters told Stephen that the price was $600 a month.
Damn.
And this was like a huge place and it was in his price range. So Stephen rushed to put his application in to try to beat out the others that were there looking. He submitted it and the response when, oh my gosh, I can't read my own notes. And the response he got when he handed over the paperwork was more of a question. Mr. Winters said, "You understand the responsibility of living in an old house like this?" Stephen gave like a positive response, like, yeah, because I mean, that's a weird question, but he really wanted the place. And the landlord already seemed quite odd.
Yeah.
So Stephen and his daughter went home and they just hoped for the best. The book that I mentioned by Steve LaChance is what I used. I already said this. It's called The Uninvited, The True Story of the Union Screaming House by Steve LaChance because I'm not good at writing the citations for books. I always screw up.
I always just, hey, as long as the link is below and you can follow the link to get there, it counts.
It was the episode of the show A Haunting, and the episode's name was called Fear House. So, anyways, a week passed after the application and Stephen got a call. They were chosen.
Oh, nice.
He and his family could rent the house. They were pumped. And some sources, it said that the landlord asked Stephen to meet him at a restaurant, not the property, to sign the paperwork and give the money. And he wanted to do a final walkthrough with Stephen of the house, but he didn't want to be there after dark. So he went there and like rushed, and then he's like, all right, we gotta go. And the landlord just like wanted to bounce, which another odd thing happening.
Yeah, but if the guy was already a bit of an odd duck, I probably wouldn't have read into it as much. Like if he was already out there, I'd have been like, this dude's just really freaking weird.
Poor wig. So move-in day was Memorial Day weekend. They finished packing up the apartment and they were on their way to this new chapter, this new house. During that moving day, while they were in and out with boxes, Stephen recounted how a sedan passed the house slowly and stopped and said, "Hope you get along okay here," and then just drove off, which could be taken as well wishes.
I wouldn't think anything of it. I come from a small town, and it wouldn't be anything to be like, "Hey, neighbor, hope you get along all right." Like, I would not think twice about that.
Like, oh, it's just like the landlord. Maybe that's just how they are over
Yeah.
here.
Now, if it was somebody who, like, rolled the window down and was like, "Good luck," then I'd be like, "Okay, this is a problem," or "Let's hope you last longer than the last ones." Then I'd be a little concerned. But if it's just like, "Hey, hope you get along all right," I'd be like, "Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you." And no big deal, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. They finished up and they slept the first night in the rented house, not a cramped apartment. And the next day, they were still putting things away, and, Steven's just putting around the house. And he noticed that the bedroom doors in the house had hook and eye latches on the outsides of the doors. You know what those are, right? The little turn-in
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, where you slide around and it goes in the little hole. Yeah, with the little hook. Yep.
Which usually you would think a bedroom would have the locks on the inside to keep people out, but they were on the outside to keep something or someone in.
Okay, that's really weird.
Which odd. Still setting up the house, Stephen was hanging a picture of a few angels that his daughter thought would look really good with the cherubs in the living room. And the kids were out playing on the porch as Stephen hung the picture. He finished hanging it and then he turned and the picture fell, which, I mean, not a big deal.
Maybe he just didn't find the stud.
I love those videos when they have the little compact mirror and the guy's like stud finder.
Yeah,
and they think they're hilarious.
Yeah, every man does that and thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Every single one. I'm not gonna lie, I have done this before to someone. Been like, "Oh, found it."
Blah, blah, blah. So again, he hung the picture, and then Stephen turned, and this big gust of air like rushed at him, and this time the picture fell, but it like fell out and hit Stephen in the ankles, almost as if it was like thrown towards his ankles.
That's a little weird.
And then he went to hang it again, and he told the picture, "Stay there," and it did. So maybe you just have to talk to it.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Stephen went and joined his children on the porch. His daughter pointed out how the neighbors or people passing by would literally cross the street while they were right in front of the house, like right before they got to the front of the house, and then cross back to like avoid walking directly in front of the property.
Okay, at that point, I would just keep walking on the opposite side of the road. Why would you cross back over? That doesn't make any sense. That is inefficient. That is inefficient, everyone.
And it's kind of rude to the family.
Well,
Stephen tried to like wave at a few people passing by, and they all evaded his direction or would look down, avoiding any type of interaction.
oh, so you have the friendly neighbor who's like, "Oh, have a good time," and everybody else is like, "Fuck this guy. I'm out."
The family just enjoyed the rest of the night on the porch. They had dinner and went to bed. Sunday morning came. They went to church, came back, and they were pumped to do some yard work because this is the first time they had a yard. They were in an apartment before.
Okay, these people are nuts. If you get excited
Agreed.
about yard work, no, thank you.
If you're kids and you never got to do it, I do remember, like, as a kid, like, the leaf piles, jumping into them, but I wasn't doing most of the work. I was just enjoying the fun part.
Yeah.
Stephen did notice how the trees were shedding leaves at a time where they should have been making them, which was a little bit odd. And while they were out there doing the yard work, he asked his son to run down to the basement and grab a hose to hose down the walkway. And his son ran down to the basement. Shortly after, Stephen heard his son let out an ear-piercing scream, and he ran in the house to find his son in the kitchen having urinated on himself.
Oh, geez. Okay.
His son said he saw something in the basement, which he called like a basement monster, and he later recounts how he felt it like running up the stairs behind him.
Ew. Yeah, that's a hard pass. Why is it always the basements?
I hate basements. I'm in a
Like,
basement
why?
right now.
Why is it always the basement?
I don't know. Freddy Krueger, we can blame him.
It just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense because they've got to have access to like the whole house unless something was just like going down, like something really bad happened in the basement.
But every single basement?
Yeah, it's like their go-to place. It's like, oh, you go, nah, I'm good. I'm just going to hang out in the basement, y'all. I'm just going to haunt you down here. You're good as long as you can get upstairs.
It's like a living room to the living, but they prefer the basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a den. That's what they're going for. I get
it's the
that.
devil's den.
Oh my gosh.
The demon den. There you go.
So Stephen went downstairs. Well, he tried to get his son to go down with him to show him that like nothing was wrong. And Either way, he retrieved the hose and went back, and everything went on as usual. That night, the boys were going to sleep in their dad's room because their bed hasn't arrived yet, and their sister was just hanging out with them. One of the sons had to go use the bathroom. He hesitantly went down the hall, and then that's when he told his father that he saw something in the hallway. He described as a dark presence, and then he later described it as like this creepy ass looking clown.
Ooh.
Those are my words, not his.
Oh, I'm like, hmm. So we have, okay, it can't be a shadow person and a creepy clown. Like, those are two totally different things. Unless he just felt the dark presence and saw the creepy clown. Maybe.
Stephen chalked it up to like the big changes the kids were going through, the move, and he reassured his son and he kind of dismissed it all still. Feels like the Dybbuk box all over again, right?
It is. It's fine. At least they didn't pass it on to 50 people.
That day and the next seemed kind of back to normal-ish. No big incidents. Okay, the family was like, doing all their normal stuff. The kids going to school, dad going to work every day that week. But every night that they got home, they would find all the lights in the house on. And he kept telling his kids, you should have shut the lights off. And they're all like, we did.
I too occasionally come home and the lights in the studio are on when no one's been home.
Eek. Just in the studio?
It happens to me all the time. Yeah, just like that, because I have them, they're all up on the wall next to me. And so they're literally on the wall and they're little bulbs like you would usually hang like outside.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the lights, and well, sometimes some of the other lights turn on, but most of the time all the lights are off, but the studio lights come on.
Oh, that's odd. But they seem
Yeah.
to like play with a lot of your stuff in there because they've shut like mics off when I'm recording with
Yep.
you before.
Yep. Let's hope they don't do that. Because that's really annoying.
Another thing about the lights in the house is they would get super bright for no reason at all. This kept happening all week, the light thing. So when Friday came, Stephen and his daughter sent the boys to the car ahead of them, and they went through the entire house, shutting off every single light so that they knew everything was off when they left for school and work. That night, they came home, pulled up to the house, and they found all the lights in the house turned on again. Stephen went inside, confused, like he knew that the lights were off.
Yeah.
He went through the whole house, so he was like, did somebody break in? He checked all the windows, all the doors, and everything seemed like it was secured. This time, Stephen wasn't able to blame his kids, thinking that maybe someone went into the house, so he called the landlord like, hey, did you come by the house? And the landlord was like, no, that would be illegal. Stephen, he was really hot from running around the house, but his daughter was like hit with this overwhelming chill.
So wait. So a landlord cannot go into the home that they technically own and are renting out, but people who have no tie to any family at all can squat in someone's fucking house? I don't think so. That is no.
They're not supposed to do that, but then they get the squatters' right. We'll do squatters' rights one time.
Yeah, because
Maybe a Patreon.
Maybe I don't know if that's a good idea because I have a feeling it is going to get me lit up. I mean, if you want to hear me go off, we're going to go over squatters' rights because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be pissed by the end of it.
Angry at the beginning of the show, but seeing how much that guy was messing with her, I was like loving it. He was sitting there with a bullhorn in the middle of the night at her door, like making her life a living hell. It was so funny, and she's not going to last in there.
You own that house. If it is anybody other than somebody you give permission to, you should be able to execute them on site. There is no reason for you to be in my house. No.
Yeah, so Stephen was hot and his daughter was freezing. And Stephen said when he walked into the living room by his daughter, he felt how the temperature dropped about 30 degrees. And this was the first time he felt something really strange in that house. He felt like he was hit almost with like an electrical current, like he felt like electricity go through his whole body.
Well, that's kind of weird. Mixed with the cold air, which is another thing too. So a lot of times they say that, the temperature will drop, but usually if you're applying energy, the temperature goes up. So why wouldn't it increase your temperature instead of decrease it?
Well, he was hot at first and then it went down.
I know, but just in general, if you're adding energy to a space, usually that means heating it up, not cooling it down. But you always hear about the hauntings and everything always drops the temperature. I feel like there's a reason for that. It's just escaping my mind right now.
Unless they're drawing the heat or energy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
But the next day, well, everyone slept together that night because it was a little bit creepy. And The next day, Steven's father came by, who he was like a general contractor or electrician or something, and he just checked all the wires to make sure, that the electrical current thing wasn't a danger or what was
Mhm.
going on with the lights, why the heat was doing that. But he found no issues whatsoever. So I guess that was that. And then Steven kind of brushed that off.
At least the house was safe
Yeah, ish.
ish. Safe from an electrical standpoint.
Yeah. That weekend, Steven was in the living room with his kids. They were just chit chatting about the upcoming week because Steven had a work trip coming up and the kids were going to be staying with Steven's parents while he was away. Steven was talking to the kids who their backs were to the kitchen and Steven was facing the kitchen. He saw in the kitchen doorway what looked like a man, but it was made up of a dark smoke.
Okay, so like a shadow man.
Hmm.
Okay.
But Steven, again, trying to brush it off. Maybe his eyes are playing tricks on him. He looked
This
away.
this douchebag. I hope it haunts his dreams.
It actually does later.
Oh. That's what you get. That's what you get. When you don't pay attention to them, they will keep pestering you until you acknowledge that they are there.
Yeah, and if you don't want to, just leave. You don't want to interact, just leave.
I just saged my house yesterday. Necessary. Things were getting out of hand and it was causing problems for more people than myself, so I had to sage.
And that worked?
So it's actually made the atmosphere way better in here. So I think it did the trick.
Oh, good. So your lights will stay off. Better
The
electric
lights
bill.
will stay off. Hopefully the doors will remain closed or open, whichever direction they are, because that's been a problem lately.
Oh, your doors have been opening?
Yeah. So it wasn't when I was here. When I was gone, my boyfriend was here and he was like, I swear, like I either closed the door or didn't close the door. I can't remember which. And it was open. And he was like, I know I closed it more than once. And then I turn around and it's open. And he was getting like really bad feelings in the house. So he ended up staying outside most of the day till I got home.
That's probably better, though, to not see the door open. Like, not to visually see it cracking open, because that would be so much worse just to see it slowly open in front of
I've
you.
had this happen to me in my house before.
I would need
And
defense.
I literally look over and I'm like, really, guys? that's all I have to say is I'm like, really, guys? Can we not? And then I just go about my business.
See, you and Steven would get along.
No, there's a difference. I know they're there. He's got the wool over his eyes and he doesn't give a fuck. That's his problem.
So Steven, like I said, he looked away thinking maybe his eyes were playing tricks. And then he looked back and he saw the smoky figure again. But this time it was moving towards him.
Okay, wait. Weren't the kids between him and it?
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, see, that would be when it starts going at me, but it's got to go through the kids. That's when I would start having a problem.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, this is not going to happen. So he tried to calmly get his kids up without freaking them out. Like, hey, let's go get a soda. Let's go to grandma's.
Yeah.
And his car keys were right there. He hurried the kids outside. And as he turned to lock the front door, he heard a piercing scream come through the house. Like a scream that carried through the neighborhood and all the dogs started barking.
Okay. Interesting. I don't normally hear of shadow men screaming. That's what's throwing me here.
The family made it to the car and they were driving away. That's when Steven's son turned and looked at the house and he said he saw the basement monster in the upstairs window. And Steven looked and he recognized the form as the smoke man he had just saw standing in the window upstairs watching the family escape.
Yeah, that's a hard no for me.
That night they stayed at Steven's parents' house and Steven went as planned on his business trip and the kids stayed at their grandparents for the week. Friday came around and Steven got back. He picked up the kids and he hoped that all that time away maybe settled the house.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work. Not much happened in the house that weekend, except that Steven and the kids, while they were exploring in the backyard, they found a shed. And in there, they found a bunch of items from previous tenants. But items that people would leave only if they were taken off quickly. Like if you wouldn't leave like your birth certificate or your passport.
Yeah.
And it was from multiple tenants, not just one.
I'm contemplating on this one. Because I feel like the landlord should have gotten rid of this stuff before the new tenants came in.
Maybe thinking it was in the shed, they wouldn't look. but I don't see anywhere that the shed was off limits.
Yeah.
And Stephen actually called the landlord to ask about what's going on with the property. Specifically, Stephen was like, have any previous tenants mentioned a ghost? And at first the landlord was like, I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then was like,
Okay.
oh yeah, I think one tenant said that she was crazy. She saw her dead father when she was there, and the other ones were like into witchcraft and stuff. So whatever.
No pressure.
And even
Okay.
even with this information, Steven still tried to brush off the whole thing. And I guess that was the end of that conversation. So the weekend passed without anything else really happening. And then Monday night, Steven was talking to his mom on the phone, and he heard the door rattling from inside the house, figuring it was the kids who were playing in Steven's room at the time. He was like, "Stop, cut it out. I'm on the phone." And then Steven heard the rattling get louder and louder, and then he's again to the kids, like, "Cut it out, cut the crap," whatever he says.
Yeah. Knock your shit off. Like, I'm gonna kick your ass.
And louder, the rattling. Before Steven could even yell out his reprimand, his daughter, with a frightened tone, said, "Daddy, I'm in here reading and my brothers are asleep." And as soon as his daughter said that, the house got cold, dropped at least 30 degrees, and Stephen was hit with a jolt again through his body. And this stench followed him. It was like a really noxious, pungent odor. And then he heard a scream that came from the house, and the scream grew in intensity. And the mother was still on the phone during this. And the whole house started shaking, and something enormous was heard descending the stairs. Stephen was running towards the room where his children were, and he could feel a presence chasing him in this like shaking, still screaming and shaking house. He said the scream sounded like of a man and of a child, and he tried to get the door open to his kids and it wouldn't open.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
And he just started throwing himself against the door over and over again until it finally opened. He gathered his scared children. They made their way outside to safety. As they were headed for the front door, they heard bedroom doors clanging, banging from behind them, and they booked it out of the house as quick as they could to the car. And then when Stephen looked back, he could see a figure going room to room, searching for them in the windows.
He's just doing a perimeter sweep. That's all it is.
And that was the last night the family stayed there. This was only 13 days after they moved in. Like less than 2 weeks,
Oh,
all this
wow.
activity happened.
Okay.
All the footsteps, shaking, screams that the family reported led to the house receiving the nickname the Screaming House.
I'm just soaking it in. I'm soaking it in.
Stephen did go back a few times to grab some stuff during the daytime, but never alone and never with his children. But whoever he brought with him each time heard, saw, felt something strange in the house, whether whispering, screaming, banging. And Stephen's brother even caught a picture of a man's face in the cellar, in that fruit cellar,
Mm-hmm.
when there was no man down there with them. After they fully moved out, Stephen began researching the house, which I don't know why he didn't do that while he was there.
I mean, I've not researched houses before I moved in.
But once you're in there and you're going through weird stuff, that wouldn't be like, hey, let me look into this. Or ask neighbors or something, anything.
Well, I mean, he did try to ask the landlord.
I don't think the askew wig person would be my go-to like
Oh,
source.
come on. Their information's legit.
They probably know everything. Yeah, at first people were like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about," when he'd go to different libraries and everything. They seemed to be like giving him the runaround, but he eventually found that the previous owner may have been one Captain John Thomas Crow, the same man that was in his brother's photo when they compared his picture. And Captain Crow is said to have lived on the land back in Civil War time. And some people said that he executed a lot of slaves that he owned, and then there was a bunch of deaths during Civil War time of like other military. I'm not really sure how or why, but there were a lot of deaths on the land.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I would like to know where he got his information.
There are documents online about Captain Crow.
Okay. And still, like, if he was executing all these slaves, it would be the slaves that are haunting the house, not the guy who was executing.
Well, the thought is that he might be the person that's there protecting his home. Like, this is my house, get out.
I still feel like all the people executed would have more of a say in the haunting than this guy.
paranormal investigators were called to the home. Psychics have gone there, and there was one woman, Betsy, from the St. Louis, I can't read my own writing, Spirit Search was brought in, and she went down in the basement, and as soon as she went down there, she was like, basically like, I don't like this. And she thought that it was some sort of vortex down there by like that blood sink. You know what I mean? Like a butcher shower, like where
Yeah.
you'd clean the meat, you'd shower yourself after you killed whatever animal. But she was like, as soon as she went down there, she's like, yeah, I'm out. And she was upstairs in one of the bedrooms, and she reported seeing this old man in the corner. And she got an EVP that said, "This is my house."
Yeah.
You're not buying that?
No. I just don't see like there was no reason for him to stay there.
It's his house. It's all ties back to hoarders. Not
Squatters.
hoarders. Why do I keep saying
Squatters'
hoarders?
rights.
Squatters. I keep saying hoarders.
No. I just feel like the energy that is there, it would have had to have been damage based, not just territorial.
They also had a priest come in and to bless the house, and he would only really stand like in the foyer. Like he was like, yeah, he did it super quick, and he was like, okay, bye, good luck. Like he
Well,
would
that's
not really.
not cool.
And they also got the Catholic Church involved, and they actually wrote a 156-page report on the demonic entity in the home.
Interesting. I'd like to get my hands on that report.
Good luck. I couldn't find it.
Probably in the Vatican with everything else.
Probably.
File it in the Vatican where nobody else can see with the chronovisor
Gosh, imagine getting down there to play with all that stuff.
and aliens and all the stuff. Yeah, all the things.
All the things. Other families have moved in, and they didn't last that long. And Stephen ended up befriending one of the families that moved in because the wife was experiencing things and the daughter, but the father was so funny because he was interviewed in a haunting episode. I wrote down his quote, but they were basically the mother and the daughter were like, all this weird stuff's happened, and he's basically like, I don't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. It was something like that. But it was just, he was awesome.
I love it.
And then eventually he saw something too, and he's like, yeah, okay, we can leave.
I want to know how they got out of their lease.
Well, in some articles, it says that, like I said, the landlord's a female. And in those, it says that the female landlord said you can get out if you can find someone else.
Oh.
And then he/she found someone else. So I don't really know. That's why I kind of omitted a lot because there's a lot of contradictory things in this. So I'm trying to not really touch on those.
Which is making it even more questionable of an event.
But if you look on like Reddit or YouTube, everyone in the neighborhood says like there is something wrong with that house.
Yeah, on Reddit or on YouTube.
But I'm saying on top of. I like to see what the locals say. Like, what do they say about it? Do they think it's haunted? And a lot of people do think it is.
Yeah, but there's always that, you have that weird lady who lives in that old house and all of a sudden she's this witch that's cursing the town and everybody who walks in. You know what I mean? Like, don't go up on her porch and knock on the door and the kids always dare each other to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But some people are skeptical. Oh, there's one thing that I forgot to write down. Stephen, in that he mentioned that form might actually turn into like what your biggest fear is. That's why his son saw a clown, and that's why he couldn't get into the room to his kids. You know what I mean? Like it goes off of what you're afraid of, which I thought was an interesting theory.
You don't typically hear that happen. Maybe they were just scared and they were imagining their worst fears. It doesn't mean that there was something there turning into it.
That's true. It could just be your mind filling in the blanks.
Unless it's projecting. But again, usually, a shadow person's a shadow person's a shadow person. They don't normally flip back and forth and look like other things. They just are what they are. And that alone scares the piss out of you.
But maybe there was more than one thing there.
True. I'm still thrown off by the clown.
And that's pretty much all. It was just that one mention of a clown from his son. And that was kind of it. It was never like mentioned again.
And how old was that? The like 11-year-old?
Yeah.
I can see it being, at that age, they're still young enough that it could just be their imagination.
But it could be like if you look at a cloud and I look at a cloud, we're going to see different things.
Yeah.
So to that, if it's a smoky figure, You may be seeing outlines where someone else doesn't.
Yeah. I wish I knew what shape this shadow person, because he said it looked like a shadowy,
Like man
yeah,
shape.
which is totally different than looking like a clown. If you think of because at the time frame, it would be like the old school clown with like oh my gosh, help me out here. The clown from The Simpsons.
Oh, crusty.
Krusty, thank you. With the wig, with the hair that comes out
Mhm.
the sides or whatever.
Or Ronald
That,
McDonald, and he's kind of man-esque.
yeah. But how would it be a clown if it's black?
Not sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I wonder what color the walls were.
I am not sure. I've seen
Good
the
question.
show, but it might be reenactment. They were white in that, but who knows? Because it was the hallway he was going down to the bathroom, which most hallways
Yeah,
are
if it was
kind of
like
white.
wallpapered or something and it had a texture to it, that could explain some of it.
I mean, a lot of people do believe that the house is haunted, but a lot of skeptics try to discredit the haunting because Stephen LeChance was the main source of information and his family was struggling a little bit. He
Yeah.
had a decent job, but I mean, this turned him into an author and now he does like paranormal radio shows, what do you call it? Like not like speaking engagements, and he's written 2 books. There was one and then he did a sequel that kind of went
If
more
he's only for
into
2 weeks, what the fuck's he got to write for 2 weeks?
well, that is a lot of stuff happening.
But for 2 whole books?
Well, I think the second one went into like Ed and Lorraine Warren a little bit, him trying to contact them.
Who the fuck wants to read a book about, well, I tried to contact these people?
I didn't read the second
That's
one, so
gotta,
I
that's
don't
gotta
know.
be the most boring book in the world. There I sat at my kitchen table for 4 hours waiting for a call.
Dear diary.
It smelled of English muffins because that's what I had for breakfast. The smell of coffee still lingered in the air.
So you're not about this one. You don't think that it's
I see the potential. The fact that Homeboy somehow managed to write 2 books out his ass is a little interesting to me, for starters. Also, depending on the sources, I feel like if they had enough investigations going on in this house, there would be more evidence, like actual evidence. Because, I mean, come on. This is my house. That could be anything. Anything could move in. It doesn't mean that they lived there before. It could just be claiming territory, for starters. Also, don't see this guy having enough gusto. I feel like, if anything, the pain and suffering that occurred in this dwelling itself could have created or invited in a negative presence that took territory over the house. That makes more sense than some fucking dude that was in the Civil War.
or I hate this word, so I apologize ahead of time. They were 3 prepubescent children living in the house too.
Yeah, but there was only one girl, right? Which I guess it only takes one.
I
But it didn't
apologize for
seem-
that word. I shouldn't have used that. I should have thought of something else to say.
I knew what you were saying.
I hate that
Children,
word.
child,
Yeah,
teenager.
preteen.
There was a
Why
teenager.
didn't I just say that?
But generally, it's when there's a stressed out or traumatized or something that's usually not, oh, there was this perfectly fine, mentally healthy daughter that conjured a poltergeist. No, that's not how it works.
Their mother just left them though,
Just
and
left
they just lost
him.
their aunt. Yeah, it was a little bit before they got the house. I think it was their lease was about to be up, and the mother just left. She just like up and left. According
I
to
still think
Steven,
it depends on this girl's viewpoint.
the
I
daughter.
mean, maybe the mom was a total bitch and she was like, thank God this lady's gone.
Could be, but most kids, even if your parents are jerks, they usually want them around.
Not always. From firsthand experience, not always. Just saying.
But children do prefer routine. So to change something so drastically,
I mean, maybe, but for it to have that much power, it would need a lot of negativity. And I feel like, I mean, unless this girl was being like physically and otherwise abused, I don't foresee there being enough turmoil surrounding her to feed something that could shake a house. And then also shaking of the house. If the house was shaking, then it wasn't very well built. And they're talking about how well built the house is. But you'd have all kinds of stuff. You'd have leaks and cracked windows and all the things if the house was really shaking.
Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention, once Steven left and there was another tenant there, he kept having recurring dreams that he was going down the basement and in the corner by that shower was a guy like covered in blood.
But
And
that's
that's
where you
what led
chopped
him
up animals. Of course you're gonna be covered in blood.
but they're thinking that that might be the spirit, the homeowner that wants to stay his house. I mean, it doesn't have to be that captain. It could have just been someone that lived in that home because some people do have such a connection to a property that after they pass,
Yeah.
people report that they're there still and there. Maybe it was whoever built the house.
Yeah. They built it with their own 2 hands, maybe.
They carved them cherubs.
I just I don't know. There's a lot here that seems very embellished. Like, generally, there's an escalation over a long period of time. It doesn't just go balls deep as soon as you move in. That's not typically how a haunting works, especially because they never said anything. And that's the other thing, too. This teenage girl's there, but it didn't say anything happened in the house that they were in before that. And if it's tied to that girl, it's going to follow her.
But then the next family that moved in the show The Haunting, their teenage girl was greatly affected immediately. And she actually started self-harming and had to be brought to the hospital.
But maybe she was just sensitive, like someone else we know.
And then the mother was getting like the next family that moved in, the husband that was like, ain't nobody got time for that. The mother was getting like strangled in her sleep and she was found with bruises all over her when she called Steven to help her.
Okay, for starters, I am very questionable on that because I have repeatedly over the last couple months woke up with huge like bruises all over me. I wake up and have bruises all over me from nothing. I'm like in this giant bed surrounded by pillows and I wake up bruised.
Your ghosts are kicking you. Stop saging the house.
Probably. It's like beating me up. I'm curled up in a ball.
Leave the freaking lights on. I told you.
Yeah. I don't know. I just and two, how much did they know about the property before they moved in? Because then you could, go in with this prerequisite that something's going to happen and then, you're looking for it. So then of course something that seems benign or it might be benign and it's really not. Or, you know what I mean? You might
Yeah.
think that it's something bad, but it really is just something simple.
You mean the second family or?
Yeah.
I guess they didn't know at first. And there was one account of the daughter in the second family that moved in that said that when she was looking out in the front yard, sorry for this, there was an infant hanging from the tree. And then when she went to go show her mother, it wasn't there.
I still just.
And then after this, Steven came by because he kept having that dream about the bloody man in the basement and was like, hey, I lived here before. This place is like haunted.
Yeah, because that didn't make it to where they didn't hear or see things that weren't really there. I feel like that would have instigated
but they
it.
supposedly saw things first, like heard sounds and this and that.
But then again, if you move in, you've got to get used to the sounds that the house makes naturally.
That's true. There are creaks and this and that.
And especially like with the kids. I mean, most kids, when you move to a new house, it's scary. So you're going to you're expecting something scary. So you're going to hear or feel something scary because that's what you're expecting. So that's where that fine line is. On one hand, supposedly, I mean, it depends on who you ask. Some people believe in this, some people don't, but kids kind of have that extra sense that they can hear, see, feel, whatever. But at what point, at what age does that disappear? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like by 11, 12, you've grown out of that phase.
In a new environment, it would still be kind of creepy.
But then it could just be a play of the trick of the eye.
It could be.
You know what I mean?
I don't really know either way if it is true or not, but in their interviews, they seem like they are still scared of the house. That's all I'm going off of.
Well, yeah, they're getting paid to be on TV. Of course you'd still be scared of the house.
And if this was true, that would be freaking terrifying.
It would be. I just feel like there's a lot of things here that are stereotypical things that happen or things that don't line up or make any sense.
I see that, but I can see also a demon attaching itself to a house.
See, that's the only part that makes me go, okay, it could automatically be attached to the house, but not Captain Colonel Sanders or whatever the hell his name was. Captain Crow. Took me
Captain
a second.
Crunch.
Yeah, Captain Crunchberries. I just feel like it would have been unrealistic to think that it's him because he didn't have a reason for something to make so you have a man screaming, you got a kid screaming, you got a shadow figure, you've got supposedly a clown. You've got all these different things. It would have to be something that was not human in origin to create all of these things.
But if it is shifting, I mean, maybe at some point it did shift
Then it
into
could
the...
not have been of human origin.
No, but I'm saying it could have shifted into, if it's some kind of demon, who knows how long it's been there. Maybe it saw Captain Crunch
Yeah,
in the
Captain
past and
Crunch.
possibly, I don't know. I don't know how all this stuff works.
Yeah, and see, that's the only thing that I'm like, well, I mean, I guess he could put up a facade, but then why would it pick Captain Crow if these people have no fucking idea who Captain Crow is?
Maybe hoping that they'd find his picture and be like, ooh, that's scary. That was him. Like maybe if it is feeding off of your fears, again, I don't know how this works. I'm just spitballing. I don't know. What do I know?
None of it makes any sense. I don't know. If it did happen, that is really creepy. It's just, it gives me very much so, what is that? Oh my gosh, my brain just froze. The Murder House, where they made this movie and these stupid books and all this crap, and they made this whole franchise out of it, but they were only there for like 3 fucking days or some stupid shit.
Was that Amityville? 3 days?
Yeah, I think it was that one. And it's like, no way. Like, no.
Well, those were Warren involved investigations.
Yeah. But I don't know. It could be true. It'd be one hell of a ride if it was true. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff either missing from the equation or things that are in the equation that don't make sense.
All right.
If my house was screaming at me, and then why did nothing happen at the open house? Because they're making it seem like it was happening during the day.
I found that odd too, how he was so like, I want to go at night when a lot of the things did happen during daytime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if maybe it has to be so comfortable or has privacy. Maybe it's a shy Captain Crunch. Who knows?
Well, if it's screaming so loud the entire neighborhood can hear it, trust me, it is not shy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's true or false. This one I'm kind of right down the middle.
Yeah, I think I'm straddling the fence, leaning a little towards. I haven't quite brought the other leg over the saddle yet, but I'm leaning towards maybe not.
But if it did, like you said, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, that would be one hell of a ride. I'm surprised I didn't try. I still can't believe the friggin' church guy, the priest, just stood in the foyer. It was like, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, peace, bitches.
They're like, you don't want to go through the rest of the house? He's like, no, gotta go.
Father, Son, and Holy go out of here.
Yeah, he was like, he activated his what are the sneakers that have the wheels on the bottom? The wheelies.
The wheelies, yeah.
He's backing out with his wheelies.
It's like, shoot, out of there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence.
Yeah, but it was a creepy story, so I was like, yeah, it's a good haunting.
It was pretty good. There's more detail than I expected.
There's way more, and I like a lot of things, like I said, didn't match up in each place, so I was just like, yeah, let's skip that.
That is the main reason I have got one leg is hiked and get ready to get over the saddle.
But yeah, if you get a chance, I'd definitely watch that episode of A Haunting. It's on Tubi, and it's season 3, episode 1, I think
Season
it is.
3. Okay.
What did I say the name of it was? Hold on.
Fear House?
I think you're right.
Or
Yeah, I
something?
think it's Fear House, but it's definitely worth watching. It's like under an hour, and it's free on Tubi
Okay.
to watch. So, but yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, I think Negative Natty's pretty much dug her claws in on this one.
Thank you everyone for listening, and if you can, check us out on social media, share, like, rate, as Natasha says, do all the things.
Do all the things. Yep. Oh, and if you have any requests, comments, anything like that, don't forget, email us over at creepitweirdpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget, we also have the Patreon. So we've got that going on there. I know we're baby Patreons, but we're getting some stuff on there, and there's going to continue to be stuff on there. So keep your eyes peeled. And if you want to watch all of our lovely facial expressions and me and I can't hold my hand still while I'm talking.
She's Italian.
I look like I'm directing traffic, but you can check that over at the Patreon page as well.
All right. Well, till next time, remember to creep it weird.
Bye.
Bye.